Our next guest won a nationwide court order that requires the Department of Homeland Security to resume arrests and deportation of dangerous felons and immigrants who lost their appeal to stay in the United States.
Yeah, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost joins us now with more on this. First of all, thank you very much for joining us today. What made you take this initiative?
Well, last fall, the Department of Homeland Security put out what they called their interior enforcement policy. And basically, it took almost everything off the table. Unless you were a terrorist, you weren't going to get deported. That left people with multiple felony convictions, major drug traffickers, violent felons, who shouldn't be here at all, free from deportation. Even more than that, the people that have, maybe aren't violent, but they've lost their appeals. They went to the appeals court, or the immigration court, to the immigration board, to the court of appeals, and they lost all of their appeals. Everybody said, no, you don't belong in America, go home. And DHS said, well, we don't care that the court said that. We're not going to enforce that order. Congress made it very clear that those two classes of people whose appeals had run out and people who are dangerous felons, need to be taken out of the United States. And yesterday, a court of appeals, the district court, agreed with me in Arizona and Montana, who brought this lawsuit, and said, DHS, you have to follow the law just like everybody else.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, Dave. You're in Ohio, and I asked this as somebody whose first job out of college was actually in Cincinnati. Why does it matter to Ohio what's going on along the border? Because there are a lot of people that ask that from around the country, what's happening at the border, how they're affecting local communities.
Well, what happens, after they are at the border? People aren't hanging around in McAllen, Texas, right? They're coming out into the interior of the country, and the DHS order, which frankly they were the secretary of DHS was bragging about this in January, about how they had fundamentally changed the enforcement policy of DHS here in America. Yesterday, the court said you don't get to make that decision, and they changed it back.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I just saw this stat that came out yesterday. More than 100,000 Americans died from drug overdoses, a clear indication that, it's not just human traffickers, it's drug traffickers, all these folks getting across our border.
People move, like Dave's saying, they move all over the country.
Yeah,
they don't stay at the border.
And this will also allow ICE officers to once again resume their work and do their job.
And, we work with ICE here in Ohio. My office has a good cooperation, good partnership with them. Let them do their job and enforce the law.
All right. Dave Yost, Ohio Attorney General, thank you, sir, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, a lot of